Oh, excuse me.
Look at his...
Oh my God.
And welcome to episode 2.
I was about to say,
What are we doing again?
Hey, this is Jay Muse, and you're watching motherfucking DTF with Maggie and MJ, baby. It's like the female so-and-so and so-and-so. The snooch to the nooch. The bees to the knees. But anyway, check it out, man. It's the goods for the goods. Snooch to the nooch. Jay Muse saying I'm the commander of the Boo-Boo Kitty, commander of the Cling Snooch.
I'll tell you what you need is a fatty boom batty blunt, and then I guarantee you see a sailboat, an ocean, and maybe even some of them big titted mermaids doing some of that lesbian shit.
Hello.
hello. Hey, all. Welcome back. That's right. We're on episode 2 of The Blunt Truth Presents.
Yay!
Seeing Stoned. Welcome back. If you're listening to this episode, that means you liked something about the first episode, which we truly appreciate.
Yeah.
Or you're just a fan of Kevin Smith and you just want to hear all about this crazy episode we're going to do.
That is true.
Encompassing all of Kevin Smith's...
Sucking Kevin Smith's cock.
Sucking on his rigid... old man balls.
Apparently, I'm not even needed for this episode at this point. I was going to say figuratively, literally, I don't know. Either way, there's apparently going to be a lot of cock sucking going on with this episode.
Well, I mean, there are the rules to the road.
True. Really? I mean, I know he slept his way to the top of this mess, but I don't know what you're trying to do when it's supposed to be your show. Anyways, guys, again, this is episode 2 of The Blunt Truth Presents Seeing Stoned. This episode, if you listened all the way through and whatever hot mess we were doing on, because that's what it's a hot mess. We love it this way. We definitely talked about the different movies, the different things we'd be talking about while on weed. So be sure to get those bongs ready, get that joint rolled, puff, puff, pass as you need if you're with friends. In this episode, we will be talking all things Kevin Smith.
It is getting harder. A little warm, but that's all right.
Right.
Snoochie boochies.
That's right, because if you didn't know, there's, I don't want to say necessarily debate, but there's great topics on Kevin Smith movies, when he started smoking weed, when the people in his movies were getting high and different stuff. But before we get too much into this at this point, let's go ahead and we'll reintroduce everybody, guys. I am Scotty P. I am known for being the host of The Geek Fathers on the Geeks Under the Influence Network, regular panelist for Geeks Under the Influence show, along with multiple other shows on the network. So feel free to check us out there. That is www.gypodcast.com, because I am...
G-U-I.
You're a whore.
I am... I got to promote my own shit with this shit too.
He's got to.
So
go watch their stuff. If you guys like discussions of parenting, if you guys like discussion of like anything nerd,
pop culture, horror, we have the shows on the GUI network
for you on the GUI network.
No, and
really
thank you for that. And as the extra props come from Mr. Casey Martin here.
Hello.
As you remember from episode 1, our resident, I guess not only pot smoker but cock smoker as well. At this point, cock smokers,
love
and
some cock smokers.
Well, there you go. And then, of course, the reason why we're doing this show, this limited series podcast that we're bringing great, all the marijuana needs and movies to explain some stuff to you, I guess. But the creator of The Blunt Truth, the YouTube series, the soon-to-be feature-length film, Miss Becky Gaskin.
Hi.
Yay! Going back and watching numerous Kevin Smith films like to prepare for this episode. I've seen, I saw most of them as they came out. Like I was an early fan, like
for sure.
Like the idea that there was this guy that was like, fuck it, I'm going to make a movie and I'm going to pay for it myself.
Dude.
And I'm going to like, and then I'm going to take it all the way. Like it was this huge, like a thing that spoke to me in my like early punk rock days of like DIY, like we do
Absolutely.
this shit ourselves. We're going to make our own posters. Oh, nobody will put out a record. We're going to put out our own record. Kevin Smith make a whole movie and he just put it on credit cards and said, fuck y'all.
Well, that was the whole thing of what I wanted to make my film for was like, like I said in the last one, I didn't want to be George Lucas. I didn't want to be Peter Jackson, like all the other fucking nerds that were in film school. I was like, found Kevin
Right.
Smith early in life because originally I wanted to just be a screenwriter, and Matt Damon and Ben Affleck inspired me in Good Will Hunting. And then once I heard about Kevin Smith and him helping them, I was like, what? There's a guy that does all of it. You can do all of it?
Right. It just wasn't a one hat, like one trick pony, you know, type of thing. He was handling all of it. I mean, I remember when it was difficult to find a copy of Clerks on VHS.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that was in such a heyday as well of where there were so many indie movies, and where it comes from, like again, Casey and I, from the cliche of our punk rock roots of not only the do it yourself, but you had to go search for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
It
we're
wasn't-
in our early 40s.
Yeah.
You know, it was a place and a time.
Yeah.
It was that, you know, it's like we were the people that were, you know, we were the kids that were marketed towards that thing. And that was like, you know,
Right.
you know, that was a glimpse into a life that, like, I guess you don't really think about in that age. You know what I mean? It's like,
No way.
Like what are these schmoes that work at Blockbuster or whatever, you know, like what do they do? You know, what do they talk about when we're not there?
Well,
Like,
I can tell you that because the creator and one of the people on the GUI network both worked at Blockbuster.
Oh,
So there is
I was fired
potential.
from Blockbuster. Thank you.
Oh, how do you get fired from Blockbuster?
probably for smoking weed and
No,
not doing your
no,
work, right?
Sucking dick? I mean,
That job I did not suck dick, just so you know.
Oh, okay,
that was
okay.
another job.
were the khakis just a turn off?
And that was another job I got fired for smoking weed. Okay, so
Oh, Lord.
I rented out too many movies too long. So I
You rented like you were the
you were
culprit?
allowed 5 movies, and I took too many at one time.
And you were like,
Well,
I
you
just
took
have to keep,
6?
this
I
is the
mean-
copy of
yeah.
Romeo and Juliet that I saw when I was...
That
Okay,
is.
we're going to steer this back.
Sorry.
Okay, so... You know, Clerks was like, I will argue that Clerks was like a refreshing, like, you don't have to do it the way they tell you you have to do it.
No.
Very much so.
Sort of thing. Like that's where that movie hit me. Like I go back and watch Clerks now and I'm like, do any of these motherfuckers know how to act? Or
I mean, what's your encore? Do you, like, anally rape my mother while pouring sugar in my gas tank?
yeah, I mean, it was pretty good, but it's like, I'm not, you know, I come from the perspective, I'm not like a super fan. I've been a fan like almost, you know, like since he's been on the scene, you know, since I was able to like get my
Right,
grubby little teenage hands on it. Like I remember the cartoon show and like all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like he was never like this like pinnacle thing for me. But I idolized musicians more than I idolized
Yeah.
filmmakers.
See, I was in the mix of a bunch of stuff because between the music, between that, and I was never actually a creator. We did things, but I never had the ambition to really go fully create something as well. But it was definitely mad props to, like you mentioned, there were, I think, Brian O'Halloran and one or two other people were technically the only actors in that movie because they were doing stage at the time. It wasn't
Correct.
even like they were known for other movies or anything. It was literally, hey, I'm like, we were making the joke on the last episode of, I want to be in your movie. Well, Kevin basically went, hey, you're my friend, do this.
Yep.
And I'm making a movie, help me.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked. I mean, between timing and let's say between what you've mentioned, the way what gave you inspiration for creating what we do on the Geeks Under the Influence Network, such inspiration comes from Kevin because his main thing is, especially these days, is just go do it. Create.
Correct.
Do it. It doesn't have to be the next big Hollywood blockbuster film or this or, top the charts, but you create the product, the people will follow.
Yeah.
Right.
He made Tusk. So,
I still like that movie.
We'll get there. We'll get to that.
We'll get there. We're going to do a quick run through on the movies because, I mean, again, this episode would probably be about 10 hours long if we like dissected every film.
Clerks was a big, like, I love Star Wars and how does it relate to my life sort of thing in places.
For sure.
It was just, it was definitely a time and place movie. And I got like latched on to, like me and my best friend my best friend got the motion picture soundtrack to that, and it had this like the Chewbacca song. Chewbacca! It was like Chewie.
Because that was Bloodhound Gang. I think
he used like cool
if I'm wrong,
music,
I'm sorry.
and it like that wasn't like super mainstream, and like talked about like, oh look at this guy, he's like a fucking metalhead, and I was like, I know dudes like that. They're dudes I go to school with that are metalheads that are like, man, Earth Crisis is fucking awesome.
So so I was gonna say and be like, all right, so back to kind of like where we are as a podcast, we should discuss at least a little bit of maybe where each one is as a stonerness film. So let's bring back to like, circa 1994.
Right. Well, and that's the big debate that we've talked about, at least in this group as well.
We've had this discussion before.
And it takes place where, we can break down so much of this, but it really is, does it count as a stoner movie or does it just have stoners in it?
Correct.
Or just a stoner appeal, even. You know
True.
what I mean? Because
Very
it's like
true.
there's a pace, for stoner movies. You know what I mean? It's
Absolutely.
It's a different pace, than some other movies. You have to like keep the attention. Like it's a different thing for it to be like a good stoner movie. It needs to have the right amount of ridiculousness.
Right.
Yeah.
But not like too much ridiculousness. It's there's a balancing act you need to do.
But then you mentioned that, but then you go between Clerks, which Kevin has always talked about. He likes the talking, the great discussions that happen.
That's what he's known for.
Exactly. Yeah. But then, as you mentioned, the ridiculousness, you step into Mallrats.
Yeah.
That was his first true expansion of this Viewsk universe that he created.
Let's see what he can do now that he has some money.
Exactly.
Right. And even though it was a mainstream bomb, we've clarified even before this episode that it's not about the mainstream to be what it should be. He's taken more pride in this movie now. I mean, there are all sorts of discussions you can get into about what set him on a downhill a little bit, personally, whatever. That's not what this is about. But you see that in the movies about it's a true roller coaster of budget that he had at the time, who approved what, but also he admits it, but you can see it's a great reflection on where he is in his life as well.
Almost all of his films do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like he had to fight for Jay to be Jay.
Yeah, and Mallrats.
Yeah,
right.
Mallrats.
Yeah.
Son of Jarrell! Kneel before Sod! Snoochie boochies!
Like he had to be like, no, this dude, and had him come and sleep on the floor of the hotel room because the studio wouldn't pay for him to have housing or anything like that. So it's like, he's definitely taken his people that are close to him that build his universe that he's making.
Right.
And he takes all of those people with him. You know what I mean? I'm not discounting any of those people, individually for not, but it's like, if you're part of that universe, like Ben Affleck, you know what I mean? Like he became part of that universe and he was in Reboot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
All of the people, not too many people have said no, I won't, I can't be in Kevin Smith, you poo-poo Kevin Smith movie, even motherfucking Ben Affleck, who's he's a megastar
fucking
at this
Batman,
point.
man.
He's motherfucking Batman.
Motherfucker was the bomb in Phantoms, yo.
Yeah, bomb and Phantoms.
Yes. But let's, what we were going to is, we're discuss like a little bit of, as we will with this podcast, is go through and each discuss if it's a stoner-ness film and if it, it has some. And luckily, Kevin has some great stoner or non-stoner films. So, and,
See, I feel like Mallrats is a non-stoner film, really.
Mallrats total stoner movie.
Like, Jay and Silent Bob are there.
You're totally like ignoring Clerks. You went straight fucking full Mallrats.
Well, I mean, I started talking about Mallrats.
Well, I'm sorry, and that was my transition. But to go back to what Becky was saying, though, all right. So to bring it in a little bit, because we've talked about the first two main films that Kevin has done. So we have Clerks, which, and again, we're still not even at the point where Kevin personally is smoking. He does not smoke weed at this time.
Yeah, not a stoner. Isn't that weird?
So I know, weird.
All through the 90s.
I would consider Clerks a stoner movie just because of the type of discussions you have as a stoner.
Like,
it's not.
You have to feel like Randall. Like when Randall's not on screen, he's like behind the quick stop, like smoking weed.
Really?
Or something. Like
he's too high strung for that.
I don't know.
Well, Dante is totally not a stoner.
No.
See, and Dante's not a stoner. So it's like, but you
Dante needs weed.
I feel like
true.
I feel like Jay and Silent Bob standing outside of the quick stop are fuel to people coming into the quick stop and doing weird shit because they're fucking slinging weed the whole time.
Right.
So it's like they're driving business in a weird and awkward way into this, by like, hey, I'm gonna go up to the quick stop. Why? I need a soda. I need a bag of weed.
I need a pack of Chulies, bro.
Yeah,
for sure.
So you can't say that Clerks is up there with stoner movies such as like Half Baked. Like,
no, it's a different level. I should even clarify that Clerks is a great movie for stoners to watch. It is not a stoner movie.
I would agree with that. Mm-hmm. Like, yes.
Mallrats, you could kind of say the same thing, but that one is more of a widespread appreciation. It's
because the jokes make you go,
right.
Like, to me, that's what it is. It's like, it has nothing to do with weed, but it's like, if you smoke a bunch of weed, you can be like, he got poop on his hand. Those sort of things. It's like it's the dick and fart jokes. It's like,
for sure.
Go suck my dick. Like those jokes.
It was 37 dicks.
Yeah, it was like
exactly.
But
see, that also pulls us right into. I mean, we have a whole list. We have the career list. The IMDb list is here, but to avoid, I'm going to stick to more of the mainstream and even go ahead and start bringing up Chasing Amy, which to me, not any type of stoner movie whatsoever.
No.
And that was like in my fandom, of Kevin Smith. In my, I was like, oh, fuck yeah, Clerks. Oh, fuck yeah, Mallrats, because I could go, and then, Chasing Amy comes out, and I'm like,
what?
Dude, shut up. Like, where are the dick and fart jokes? Like, that it was
right.
Still,
Well, that was the only time
that age.
Yeah, that was the only time Jay and Silent Bob showed up only once in a film. The only one out of all of his films where Jay and Silent Bob even showed up.
That was the main, that also started the trend of Silent Bob speaking that one nugget of philosophy of this works for the world, try it out and go.
Yeah.
So it, in some aspects, I get that it wasn't the dick and fart jokes, but at the same time, it does still, even though I still don't consider it a stoner movie or to get stoned to watch it.
Yeah.
It's still that movie, if you hit that joint right at the right time and depending, time it so that joint hits you about 30 minutes before Silent Bob drops that nugget of philosophy on you, boom, done.
I have to say,
it's like, oh, fuck, dude.
As a female pervert, that part where Brody and her are discussing oral sex is brilliant.
Oh, true.
Oh, you got this part right here in your mouth. Oh, wait, I got this.
You see the scar from the high heel?
Scar?
Yeah.
That's comedy gold right there.
Yeah. Sure. And again, I should even say that this is not a diss on any of the movies because, I mean, he may say something about a couple of them, Tuscan or whatever. But for Becky and I, Kevin Smith, there are certain movies we'll rate lower than others, but it's still a Kevin Smith movie.
Exactly.
Okay, so
which is
these
automatic
guys-
semi-wood for me. So
These guys
Yeah.
own these T-shirts. This is her T-shirt.
right.
I just figured that.
lack
I don't
of
own
boob.
any Kevin Smith paraphernalia, really.
He owns me.
Yeah. I bought her
Fair.
a Blunt Man and Chronic bong one time
And broke it.
and then broke it.
What?
I have it. It just doesn't hold water anymore.
It's broken.
Well, that kind of defeats the purpose of a bong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
It's, like it's a cool little piece of art. It's glass. I was like, oh, this is cool, blah, blah,
and
blah.
broke
And then
it.
had a party and then like woke up the next morning and there was a big crack in the bottom.
Damn.
Somebody was just like Thor's hammer.
If we're going to start talking about destruction then, and another one I do not consider a stoner movie, you can be stoned while watching it because it has a little bit more craziness to it, Dogma.
Dude, Dogma was like one of I know yours. Like Dogma was like your
That was my introduction. Okay, since I am, as we know, younger than these old fuckers.
You young lady.
I'm the long lady.
Dogma came out in 99 to give you reference.
Yes.
Like Clerks
Yeah.
came
I
out
was-
in 94.
I was
Right.
I was 14, and as you know, like shut up. I was obsessed with writing and filmmaking. Like that was the age where films just inspired me so much. So like I see Good Will Hunting. I'm obsessed with screenwriting. I'm obsessed with doing film. I had already written like 1 or 2 scripts, and I find out about Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and then you see on the news, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are gonna be in another movie, and I'm like, what? All girly, like, oh my god! So I go and see it, and I'm like,
You were moist. It's okay.
oh, I was.
Yeah,
Oh my
I bet.
god.
Yeah.
Matt Damon way more Ben Affleck, but
Oh. Wow. Whoa. Hey, Cottonmouth, calm down.
But I go see it, and I'm like, this movie is brilliant. Because at the same time, I'm about to be confirmed, like a Lutheran. I'm already having these religious thoughts in my head for being a Lutheran.
But
and
yet sucking dick.
But I see, shut up. I hadn't even gotten to that level yet.
Oh.
But I see this movie, and I'm like, wow, I've never thought of any of this. I don't get confirmed. I decide, I'm like, none of this is in my church. Like, nobody ever discusses this with me. And I'm like, thank you, this movie, for changing it. I find out more about Kevin Smith, and I was like, this dude knows what's up. Thank you for making
So
this
you
movie.
basically told your church that Kevin Smith converted you.
Well, yeah, that and going to the hospital and having panic attacks in church. But that's a different story.
Oh, well.
But what's even better
Bonus
is that,
episode.
but on a different thing, like, the best part about that movie is my parents enjoyed it. My mom, who was, she wasn't real religious, but they were like, you know what the best part about this movie was? Jane Silent Bob. They were hilarious. And I was like, what? Like, my mom and my very, like, Republican, very military father was like, they're hilarious. Oh my God, I was laughing so hard. Which surprised me. Like, they even told my priest, you should see Dogma.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow. That movie is great.
So
it is
good.
a great story.
Soundtrack
Yeah.
hits.
It
Like,
is,
there is
like-
nothing bad I can say about that film. It is
Like,
brilliant.
They did
every-
to me, that is pinnacle. That is like the top of the top. That's
Yes.
like the best thing he's ever done. And was like the only one that like spoke to me, like in a way where it's like, I'm totally familiar in this view universe.
And
you know what I mean?
Right.
The most fascinating thing, at least for me, like as I've evolved as a Kevin Smith fan from that moment, is to find out that he wrote that before Clerks.
Yeah. He had maybe not full out movie wise, but he had the whole plot and the idea totally straight. Because again, well, and that's always the funny part between him and his wife, Jen Schwalbach, is even today he still says he's not as religious, but he still has a religious base on the way he thinks.
He went to Catholic
and
school.
she is totally like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
And the way he stands with that, but again, it's that overlying thing of that's where he stands in life, and the movie reflects it. So again, not a stoner movie, but if you're stoned and you just sit there and go, dogmatic love, Catholic Church, blah blah.
Fucking Alanis Morissette is God.
Right.
What the fuck is this, the piano? Why ain't this broad talking?
I believe the answers that you seek lie within my companion's eyes.
What the fuck does that mean? Has everyone gone fucking nuts? What the fuck happened to that guy's head? I want some...
See, that's what spoke to you in that one.
Right. I mean, you and Atlantis. You and those Canadian,
it wasn't the
know.
underlying message. It was the fact that Alanis Morissette was God.
At the time, yeah, it totally was.
You,
Yeah.
that tickled your little 15-year-old pickle or
That
whatever it was.
That and Matt Damon, yeah.
Matt
Damon.
I'm Matt Damon. Oh, sorry.
I do have the best story, though, to go into the next film. So, as I said, my parents took me to see Dogma. They actually adored Dogma. But they said the favorite part of that was Jay and Silent Bob. So, as we know, 2001 comes around. That was 2 years after Dogma. And I'm like, Mom, Dad, Jay and Silent Bob are getting their own movie. We should all go see it. So I take my parents, never seeing anything else prior to Dogma, mind you, to Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. And my parents go in there, and my mom's like, this is a fucking stoner movie.
And I was about to say that leads me into this is, I would say on the list, technically
Probably
Kevin
the
Smith's
first
first stoner movie.
I
Yes.
would say first stoner movie.
But-
I would
but-
totally agree with that.
Hands down. Number one on the list, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Fun movie to kick back and blaze to.
My
sure.
jungle love.
Love.
Oh-ee-oh-ee-oh.
No, you're gonna know ya. Oh, yeah. Anyway, yes.
Yes.
It is his.
And,
it is
and
their.
my, what a mighty fine tea party it was. I don't think that's quite the right line, but you know what I was saying.
Yes.
So,
He was like, yes,
But-
and when you're finished, you say, what a lovely
tea party. What a lovely tea party. Yes. That was what I was
You were
going
going to
for.
suck my dick. There's a lot of dick-sucking jokes in this movie.
For one more record, he loves the cock.
But it's
Tons
a
and tons
and it's
and
a
tons
Kevin
of dick-
Smith
So-
movie.
Tons
Yeah,
of
so that
dick-sucking
was the other
jokes.
thing. He got a lot of shit for all the gay jokes.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
like a
tons
lot
of
of
gay
shit.
jokes, yeah.
Yeah.
But that was a time and place thing, too. Like, I feel like lots of people fell victim to, like, it was okay to say that then. It wasn't okay to say that then, but like then it was okay to say that was in popular vernacular.
But also,
like, it was just in popular, like you said.
But also, let's go to something that happened in
I've
between
said
the
it.
movies.
I'm guilty of saying it. I'm sorry. I'm guilty.
One of the
I've said it
things
before.
that
I'm
have
sorry.
happened in between these movies is the evening with Kevin Smith, where he was able to lay out a lot of this because, again, we're still in a time period where the internet was still not 100% readily available like it is today.
Yeah, it was in its infancy.
So these Q&As were just like, holy shit, we're getting the inside scoop on so much fucking Kevin Smith stuff. Someone tried to give him shit about Chasing Amy, which he shot down, but it goes the same thing into the Jay and Silent Bob of just like, it's a joke. Nothing is meant to meaning. It's demeaning to the characters, but not a group, and they're doing it to each other anyways.
Yeah. And he,
So-
and he even wrote Chasing Amy for his brother.
Right.
Who is an open homosexual.
If you don't know that about Kevin Smith at this point, which I mean, some may not because you may not be a fan, but knowing, and I think that's part of the reason why he's been open, is because he writes so much of this based on his life is that, sure, there are jokes, there are some funky stuff going on, but in no way is this ever to be demeaning to a certain person, group, or anything. And especially the stoners, because like I said, Jay and Silent Bob do nothing but 90% of the time you see them are supposed to be high off their asses anyways. So,
Well,
I mean,
at that time, I'm pretty sure Jason Mewes probably was.
well, yeah, but
I agree
that's
with that.
that's a different story altogether. So we'll leave Jay, but Jay's going strong. So
Yeah, 11
it's
years.
like, yes.
me and my fandom of Kevin Smith, it's like I was like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I fucking went and saw it. I totally saw it. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I was like, okay, this is a Kevin Smith movie. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I was satisfied that it was a Kevin Smith movie, but I wasn't like, I need more Jay and Silent Bob. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't leave me like wanting that much more. Like, would I watch more? Absolutely, I did. But it's sort of like it didn't butter me up to be like, after that movie, I was like, all right, I'm not going to pay attention to Kevin Smith for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just where I was.
You weren't in search for him.
Right.
He wasn't like, after that movie, I was like, okay, he's already, like, Dogma was better than the latest movie he put out. So Dogma was the peak, so it's just going to go downhill from here.
But you're in the same boat with so many other people, because that also led into the first movie that he did without Jay and Silent Bob, which was 2004's Jersey Girl.
Correct. And that was also because, again, like we just said, Jason Mewes' issues.
Right.
And he had just had a daughter, which is Harley Quinn Smith. And so he wanted to make like a dad movie. And,
exactly.
And, Jason at the time in personal life with Jay, he was like, I can't do this. I can't keep having you mess up on set. Apparently in interviews he had said that was probably one of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back was one of the most painful films he'd ever make.
Yeah.
And
yep.
Which is sad that it was also one of the most successfuls that he's had.
True.
Monetarily,
Yeah.
Exactly. But I mean, and this is just showing the roller coaster. I mean, because we got to keep in mind this is a stoner show. But but that shows the ebb and flows of what Kevin Smith had to do, and in my opinion leads up to why he became a pot smoker.
Yeah.
Because I mean good and bad things happen.
Movie.
Yeah. And Jersey Girl definitely not a stoner movie.
Oh my God.
If you want to get a little high while watching it and be like, George Carlin is the shit, by all means, watch it for George Carlin.
His range of acting, surprising.
By all means.
And like, say what you will about Kevin Smith, but like getting George Carlin on board for your, like, you write something that George Carlin says, and he says it without like,
and he's like, that's a killer line,
putting up some sort of a fight. Like it's saying something, because George Carlin is probably more Jesus to me than Jesus is Jesus to other people.
Fill them pews, people. That's the key. Grab the little ones as well. Hook them while they're young.
Kind of like the tobacco industry.
Christ, if only we had their numbers.
I wanted him to be
calm
president.
Down, John Lennon. Calm down.
I'm pretty sure I wanted George Carlin to be president quite a few times.
Oh, for sure. And a good chunk of the country would have agreed with you. So, but if you really, really want to get into the next, like, this to me is this one would actually, I think, be more of a stoner movie, even though it kind of goes opposite, is with Clerks 2.
I love Clerks 2.
Sometimes I wish I did a little more with my life instead of hanging out in front of places selling weed and shit. Like maybe be an animal doctor. Why not me? I like seals and shit. Or maybe an astronaut. Yeah. Like be the first motherfucker to see a new galaxy or find a new alien life form. And fuck it.
Because not only is Jay and Silent Bob technically sober in this one, but the hilarity that ensues with this is that you could totally take that joint, smoke it down in the first 30 minutes of the movie, and the rest of it is fucking hilarious.
Oh, I love Clerks 2.
With the donkey show at the end.
Exactly.
No. Best part, dance sequence. Every movie needs a fucking dance sequence. I swear to God.
Oh my God.
Shut up. I'm just saying, it needs a dance sequence. And just
I don't know if it needs
No, they
it.
need movies need dance sequences. They do.
And there's a reason. Never mind.
Remember we're trying to convince people to watch your movie.
Right.
Shut up. I will have
which
a dance
does
sequence.
not have a dance sequence.
Yet.
Rewrite. Let's throw away this old script.
Oh, Lord.
We gotta figure out where to put the dance sequence.
Maggie and MJ on ice.
Yeah.
Hey, she's a Madonna fan. She could do a dance sequence.
Well, as long as she's wearing the pointy bra, that's all that matters.
It's possible.
It's possible.
It's possible.
Yeah, Clerks 2 definitely turned that weed knob way on up.
Way up.
They were on 1 or 2. It's on like 11.
Like-
so
Right.
like you turn that
Now
weed knob
again,
all the way
it's
to
not
11. It goes-
technically a stoner movie as we classify, but you could be high
But it's
while
like, it's
watching
one
it
of
and
those
enjoy
yeah,
it.
watch it while you're high, and it's like all the jokes land. Like the dick and fart stuff is great. Like
And
if
then
that's
there's
your
a donkey
bag,
show.
and there's a donkey show at the end,
And a
So-
dance sequence.
and a dance sequence. So
Fucking hell.
we covered all of our bases for a movie.
Right.
And you almost get to see Jay's dick.
That's in like 2 movies.
No,
Well, this
that was
is
the first one.
This is the first one where he does the tuck.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
this is the
Yeah.
first one,
I guess,
which
yeah.
was written because apparently he does that often to Kevin.
Yeah.
Again-
if you're a guy and you haven't done that, like in your
Are
teenage
you even
years,
living?
Like every
So you
dude-
guys have done it?
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
All right.
Maybe not for you.
Yeah. It's not
I
pretty.
mean, I can't
Thank
talk about
God.
what. I can't talk about what he's done, but
It
yeah.
ain't pretty.
You've
It's
never done it
never
for
pretty.
me, honey.
Well,
Apparently, he was saving that
get
for the next
ready for a
anniversary.
show.
Oh, oh Lord.
I'd fuck me.
I know.
We know. So, on with again the Seeing Stoned episode. Let's talk about the next movie, which is definitely a stoner movie. Kevin Smith started smoking weed while creating this movie.
He
or
was
at least towards the
introduced
end.
to it.
Yeah,
Or-
he was,
well, he was more
this is-
so-
this is where
Not
it
like
was
he never knew about it, but
no,
just saying.
Right.
Kevin, for real, you can
Seth
smoke this and
you could
still
thank
make movies.
Seth
You can do it.
Rogen.
You totally can. Look at me. Look at me. I'm Seth Rogen. I'm making all of these movies.
yeah.
And
Right.
I'm smoking all the weed.
And of course, if you don't know what we're talking about, Zach and Miri make a porno.
Yeah.
Cradle the balls. Work the shaft.
Jerk my cum crayon and let me color you white.
I need cock and I need it now.
I'm fucking you in the puss.
I'm fucking you in the pus.
It's puss as in pussy.
Oh, because I was like, who would want to fuck pus?
I want to slam my ham in your can, man. Scene.
This guy's amazing.
This guy's great looking too.
I want to fuck him.
He directed it. He didn't.
And he
didn't-
wrote it.
He wrote it.
He wrote that
directed
one
it,
as well,
and
yes.
It was not Jay and Silent Bob.
No, but Jay is in that one.
That's true.
Jay plays a porn star.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so are most
As
of the
he-
View Askew people.
I mean, this is where the line in the sand, the proverbial line in the sand, is drawn.
Right.
So like all the movies that we've talked about so far are pre Kevin Smith on the
Getting
daily,
high as
getting
fuck.
high.
yeah.
So
Right.
like from this point, you know, like what are you gonna say? No, successful Seth Rogen. I don't think your plan is good at all.
So this
Yeah.
was the idea. So he did Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. He tanked with Jersey Girl, although Jersey Girl was supposed to be his Bennifer movie, right? Because it had J-Lo, it had Ben Affleck right at the pinnacle of Bennifer.
Yeah.
So it was supposed to be good. It tanked. And then he had Clerks 2, which was semi-successful. It did pretty good. It wasn't huge like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, but his coming back moment was supposed to be Zach and Miri Make a Porno because
Right.
Seth Rogen was enormous at the time. He had Knocked Up, he had 40-Year-Old Virgin, he had all those great movies right around the mid 2000s. And so
Yep.
Kevin Smith was like, I'm going to do a Seth Rogen movie. It's going to be huge. He got tons of money for it and he did pretty good. And then another one tanked. Although
it's like I don't remember them pushing that movie very hard.
So-
like as
Well-
far as advertising is concerned.
at the time, I worked at a movie theater, and we got the artwork. And reading, of course, I was on his website. You know, the View Askew podcast.
Oh, the
you know,
original message board site and all
board
that.
stuff.
Yep.
And the thing was, like, the big controversy on the website was like, all right, so this is what we have for the poster, and they won't let us put it up. So we have stick figures, and like they couldn't market it
Yeah.
because it had made a porno, and like that was the like, how are you gonna sell a movie that was like make a porno
that doesn't say porno.
Yeah.
Like they're like you can't say porno.
Yeah.
Like you can't have
Basically,
a movie
yeah.
with the title saying porno.
Yeah.
That's so dumb. That is like
Right.
But like
it's the dumbest of dumb.
You go and put
It's-
it on a matinee, and it was like porno. People are like, what?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah. It's just it almost like tanked itself. Like just
So-
yeah.
We're always like doing things for the lowest common denominator. And
It's
really
true.
Makes me sad.
Yeah.
Which
really
is
makes me
exactly
sad.
why I'm not even going to mention the next film.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Anyways,
needless to say, like on the set, that's where Kevin started smoking weed,
Right.
and he did the next film because he needed money for his other independent
well,
film.
at this point, he's a working director. You know, whether he's making his own stuff or whatever, he's got to keep working.
He was also
So-
said to be in a very low place because of Zack and Mary. Like
Exactly,
he was like, I can't do movies anymore. I'm just shit. Blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
because
again, we're talking about the personal roller coaster, which and it reflects in the work.
Mhm.
You know, even though, and again, I'm just glad that it was him just directing Cop Out. He didn't write it, so I'm like, oh, at least okay. You don't have to. You know, I love you, Kevin, but yeah. So I'm gonna skip over Cop Out. I really don't even want to talk about that movie.
I will say I had this conversation with a coworker the other day because she was like, what happened to Bruce Willis? And I was like, fucking Kevin Smith happened to Bruce Willis.
what, like some ninja assassin of just like, I fucking killed BW.
Think about it. Like, what was the good movie that Bruce Willis has done? With the exception of like the Unbreakable films, but that was prior to Cop Out.
Well, and
Like,
Die Hard only because
Everybody
he's
was in those
had his
films.
hand in, yeah.
Yeah.
But the
but-
Die Hard movies, and even those have kind of dropped off after the third one. You know, it's,
like,
yeah.
Have you seen the list of Bruce Willis films in the last like?
They're all
what,
straight, like,
They're
to DVD,
shit.
to direct streaming, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So,
not top notch, for
again,
sure.
Kevin Smith happened to fucking Bruce Willis.
What have you done?
Thank you, Kevin Smith.
Thank you, Kevin.
I like.
I don't know. I'm a really big Bruce Willis.
I mean, I love his acting and stuff, but yeah, they're definitely
From
one.
what I've
they're-
heard
some
about
I
that
like
filming,
I like all the Die Hards.
I
Oh,
like.
I mean, I still do too.
I
They
will
just
die
they
so
dropped,
hard.
but
But I'm saying like, okay. And that's from what I've heard from Kevin and things like he kind of deserved it. He's kind of a douche.
yeah.
He's like,
So
I'm
don't-
gonna play blues harmonica.
This is the part of the show where you definitely, like, if you feel like you're sobering up, spark the next joint. And we're going to get into
Join us.
definitely like Red State, which was probably the most serious he's done outside of,
That
like,
was.
even more serious than Jersey Girl.
Mhm.
And I'm glad he touched on this. You can definitely, to me, this is
John Goodman.
John Goodman.
Come on.
Love John Goodman, even though I don't think John
Okay.
Goodman.
I'm going to stop you there because you can't start talking about Red State without saying that the reason why he did Cop Out was to do Red State. Like, he did Cop Out for the money so that he could actually fund an independent film like Red State. Like,
Right.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and I
With,
said
like,
that's what he
See,
had
but
to
it's
work.
like
He had
that
to
movie
keep working.
had like explosions and fake guns and blanks and like it paid for all this shit and blew all kinds
Yeah.
of stuff up.
So he
Right,
did
right.
he did a
You know, it was like
mainstream
it was
shitty
a big-
cop movie.
I mean, it wasn't like a big budget movie, but it was, you know, it had a budget to it.
Exactly. So he
For
did
sure.
he did the shitty mainstream movie, buddy cop movie, to fund the independent film that he wanted to do. And he was like at a point where he was like, I'm doing successful at podcasts. I'm doing good at podcasts. I'm going to just stop and do one more movie, which is Red State. And I'm going to just, yeah.
Well, I mean, by then a lot of the podcast shows were going on. He already had a couple of the specials out and everything. But yeah, no, and wasn't, and it's good to note that for sure. But to me, on just as a list of stoner movies or not stoner movies, fuck Cop Out. You know, I mean, to me, that shouldn't even just. It's only there because
It's only there
Kevin
because he
Smith is
did it.
connected to directing.
Yeah.
You know,
it
but
wasn't like a Kevin Smith movie. You
No,
know what I mean?
right.
no, it's not.
So,
For
you
sure.
know,
So what you get out of that is Red State, which if you want to smoke a little bit of the psychedelic weed for Red State, do that the second time around. Red State is definitely not a stoner movie, in my opinion.
see,
But-
I watched it really, really high, and I just picked it apart. Picked it apart. Like every tiny, I was like, how is this guy still in the same window, like getting shot at by like multiple FBI agents or whatever, like, and not moving and just being like, so, babbity boobity boo.
Come on!
You're right.
That's
I don't know
just
what I was
all I
thinking.
did, like for Red State, and because I think we watched
Tusk
this
first,
pretty
and then we watched
close,
Red
like
State, yeah.
together,
Oh,
though,
wow.
like within we either did them back to back or something like that. So it's like, yeah, we watched Tusk first.
Because I was like, you have to
And-
see the Michael Parks Kevin Smith movie.
So if if you don't follow the podcast, like Kevin Smith's podcast and stuff like that, and the whole build up to the movie Tusks, don't watch it. It's fucking awful. It's like the
We haven't
worst
even
thing.
finished Red State yet, honey.
I know, but it's like this
Jumping
is
ahead here, man.
This is the way that I like digested these movies. So like I watched Tusk first, and I'm like, all right, dude, inside of 3 days, this man is transformed into a walrus.
Now, see, to
In
me-
3 days, and then he can move, like his walrus body that's sewn together 3 days ago.
This is the part where you're giving stoners a fucking bad name, dude, by just like, bro.
I'm sorry. I'm too at this point in my life with a child and responsibility and stuff. It's
But see-
I was just like, God damn it, I wanted this to be so much better. Like if you could have drawn that out, if you like made it seem like there was some time without like tying it into the story, where it's like, I
Okay.
had 30 missed texts in the past 3 days. And you're like, 3 days? It took 3 days to go from like dude to fucking walrus? Like,
Okay.
how is that a thing?
You're still talking about limited budget because this is also one he did on his own.
Uh-huh.
Second off, you also are not the podcast listener to
No, I didn't. See,
what
I didn't
built
get the backstory
to this
into what built it, yeah.
built up to this movie.
I didn't.
Walrus, yes, all
Yes,
day
Walrus,
long.
yes.
But I was
So-
I wish I either hated the guy that turned into the walrus more, or hated the guy that turned the
You
guy into
secretly
the
love
walrus.
Justin Long.
Like, no, like
Don't
I just wish,
don't hate either one of them.
No, like,
Justin
I
Long
wish
and Michael
one of-
Parks did nothing to you, sir.
See, but Mike,
Nothing.
Michael
He
Parks-
doesn't even like
I
Michael
don't
Parks.
like Michael Parks.
He doesn't like.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna
Get
win like lot.
the
You're gonna get
fuck
hate
out.
mail.
I don't give a shit. Like, I'm sorry, I don't believe him.
The itty bitty spider crawled up the water spout.
Holy shit.
Now came the rain and washed the spider out.
Let me out of this chair, you fucking psycho! Let me out!
I think it's an agreement at this point with between Red State and Tusk. You can be stoned, not Casey stoned, but be
Obviously
stoned
not.
while watching them and enjoy some
It's all
fine
right.
Kevin Smith flicks.
I don't like it. That's
All right.
fine. It's fine.
So let's
I'm sorry.
let's do this. Let's get into the next,
I don't like
which is
peas
an
either. Do you wanna
obvious
fucking argue
stoner
with me?
movie. The next obvious stoner movie, behind the scenes, in the movie, whatever it is, fucking yoga hosers.
Wait, so we're not even going to discuss Tusk. We're only going to get Casey's
Oh, I
opinion
thought we.
on Tusk.
Oh, excuse me. Oh,
That's the only one that.
The Casey's like, I want to discuss Tusk now.
I thought it was at a point where we're gonna let him rant rave.
It's how I digested the movie. It's like I went in through Tusk into Red State, so it's like I have to like talk about it like
I mean,
that.
Like-
No, and
That
I
was the
apologize
experience I
because
had.
because the
Like-
way he went on, and I figured any true Kevin Smith fan, once we say Walrus, yes, that's all anybody needs.
Yeah,
Unlike
the real
somebody
ones,
else that's
Like,
Those
talking
are the
right
ones that are
now.
gonna be like, that Casey guy sucks so much.
Dude, you're
Like,
you're about to get
tell
so
him
much
to-
Kevin Smith fan hate mail.
Oh, yeah.
Tell him that we are gonna
Like,
shit.
I'm gonna
in
get
their
shit because they'll be
mouths,
like,
and
how
then
do you
they're gonna
fuck him?
refeed the shit back to me of the
I just-
shit that's
just
made out of the shit
cover
that
his
they already
face.
made me.
But
Yeah.
to bring positive to Tusk, I thought it was hilarious. The whole concept that not only Kevin Smith made the movie, but he played the whole concept of a podcast creator.
Exactly. The fact that they
which
used
was,
like Ralph
you know-
Garman's voice and like the Hollywood
Right.
Babylon, like that stuff I enjoyed. The fact that it was still there was still essence of Kevin in the film. You know, like
Absolutely.
even though it was his first non-View Askew film, there's still Kevin Smith essence in it.
There was
For
some
sure.
Kevin Smith perfume sprayed about the room.
Yes,
It was
dear.
Fuck
There was.
yes.
A little bit of that.
Like the one that wasn't was Red State. Now I will go back into, since we kind of skipped over this, Red State was the first time he did the first tour. right? He did the first tour of showing his films around the country.
That's true. You're right. And we should absolutely touch on that.
No, that's like a key move. That's like really cool thing that like the director bringing their film around and showing people.
And in my nerdum was I was still in my small town Ohio. I had just gotten laid off. I was still kind of feeling hopeless, and I'm like, no, I'm never gonna make my movie. Blah 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 blah. What do I do? And my good friend back home was kind enough to go out, get in line, and get Miss front row tickets to see Kevin. First time I ever got to see Kevin. Red State Tour, all of it. I freaked out. And as soon as it was like, do you want to do Q&A after you see Red State? I was like, oh my God, yes. And I finally got to, did the Q&A. And, this is, of course, over the extension of all of our fandom. And I asked him, I was like, I just got laid off. I'm feeling hopeless. What should I do? And I was like, do you ever feel like that? And he was like, of course, but just smoke weed. And I was like, okay, Kevin.
Whatever you say, I'll do. I'll smoke all the weed. All the weed, all day long.
At the same time,
20 years later.
Basically.
Yeah. No, that was 2008.
I've been smoking all this weed for 20 years and nothing's happened.
I mean, all I do is sit on my couch and smoke weed. When is it supposed to happen?
But it was...
I gotta talk to my dealer because I'm apparently not getting the right stuff.
But it wasn't... it wasn't like... we didn't see each other again probably... we met again at another time at like a Dogma re-showing, and I saw him another again in a Q&A. I told him I went back to college, kind of, and he kept inspiring me. And I don't think it was until about 8 years later that I was really on the move forward. But we'll get into that after we go back to some more.
Everybody's different on their time. Mm-hmm. So, I mean... But
yes, Red State for me was... And Red State and then Tusk were very important to me as far as timeline.
Very pivotal moment.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. No, and... That's exactly what we're here to talk about, besides all the weed and stuff, is building up to what this project is supposed to be for. Hello.
Yeah.
So, but as I was saying, because there's nothing I can say that is perfect momentum for Red State and Tusk, as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So we give, like I was saying, the next real stoner movie that was done was Yoga Hosers.
Yoga Hosers, on the other hand, being stoned would really help. So, yeah, I put that before Clerks 2. I'm like, there are little Nazi sausages running around. Like, it's nuts. Girls killing little phallic symbols, racing at them. There's a metaphor there. That's got to be watched while stoned.
Get baked to shit and just enjoy the film for what it is. Really all I can say.
For me, I'm happy he did that for his daughter, and that's all it was.
Right.
It was fully for his daughter. It's a good young kid movie, teen movie, goofy movie, and that's how I see it. It's not my favorite. It's a fun movie,
but it's very Kevin Smith-esque, as in, well, he's a regular pot smoker at this point.
Oh yeah,
Harley has gotten way more involved with that type of career, and he's doing what any father would do and helping her along.
Absolutely.
And whether it's one of his films or whatever, he's like, I wrote this, and it was a total movie just to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all it is. If you try to do a deep dive analytically into this movie, don't worry about it. Just get high and watch. Yes, that was.
Now, what year was Yoga Hosers?
That was, to check the 2016.
Okay, so I was asking that because that is the same year that I had probably my biggest breakthrough with Kevin and probably my most poignant moment with Kevin. So I go to a con. This is also the same year that I meet Jeremy London, who is in my miniseries, and from Mallrats. And I go to another Q&A of Kevin's. This is probably my third or fourth.
Right.
And I tell him, I finally just break it down. I'm like, he's talking a story about George Lucas and what he means to me, him. And I'm like, dude, you are my George Lucas. And he just freaks out. It's also on YouTube. And I am a sobbing mess.
I'm gonna make you so much more nervous right now.
Like, if you ever watch the video, I'm a sobbing, I'm a goofball. Like, he comes down, he brings me up on stage, and I don't care that there's like probably 5,000-6,000 people in the audience. I'm looking at him like, like I'm finally getting to talk to him. I'm holding his hand. He's like swinging it back and forth, and it's like, it's okay. And I'm like, I finally get to tell him about this idea, this blunt, true story that I have wanted to tell him for so long about how he's inspired me from that time that we met in Ohio. And I get to tell him, he's so excited. He was like, this needs to be done. This needs to be told. And he's like, all right, when you do it, let me know and I'll be in it. And that changed the course of my life for the last, what has it been? It's been a couple of years, 5 years now. Yeah. And I have worked vigorously since then. And since that has happened and that video has been out and people have seen it and people have been like, oh my God, you're the guy from AwesomeCon. Like every time I go to AwesomeCon, they're like, you're the Kevin Smith girl. I'm like, yeah, I know, okay. But
oh, you.
Oh, me, yeah. And it's been really awesome. And when I saw Kevin, I've seen him a couple times since then, and he calls me back, and it's been really sweet. He'll ask me about the movie, and this is the time where I'm like, next year I'll be 37. I was like, that's the perfect time to fucking make a film
37
with Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
This is the time. This is why we're doing this. This is why I'm really excited.
Truth of birth, blood of first.
But we also should discuss that we all, as Kevin Smith fans, had a big scare. What, 2 years later, 2018, when he had a heart attack?
2018 was the heart attack.
Yeah.
Right after it wasn't even a Q&A. It was just
it was silent but deadly. Yeah.
Yeah, you just call it I'd still call them spoken words ever since Henry Rollins did stuff. Started that years ago.
Taking the spoken word thing out on tour.
Right. Not in just some little coffee house, but it was actually, the tours of these spoken words.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Which nobody knew until obviously, when he posted about it. And then that's why he called it silent but deadly, was you would think a fart joke initially from Kevin. But no, by the end of that show is when they had the ambulance come and had the heart attack and everything. So that was a very even if you're not a regular smoker, but you appreciate the weed, you were hitting a joint, you were hitting a bowl, you were ripping off the bong if need be, because you were like, we almost lost Kevin.
Yeah.
Fuck. It was hard because, and speaking as a fan where I'm not a huge content creator, but being a fan, supporting my friends, I haven't met Kevin as much as you, but definitely been able to talk to him a few times and everything. You have that closeness, and it affects a lot. Where you just sit there, and fortunately now that he's healthy as can be and everything, you sit back and just take that hit and just be like, what would we not have at this point?
Right.
Which I'm going to segue into Jay and Silent Bob reboot. And because again, as we've mentioned, Kevin, besides, whether not smoking weed or whatever, it's personal stuff. And you could tell the joy that he put in to reboot.
I think, and he said this before, he said that was kind of a thank you to his fans. And it was another one he toured. It was another one he toured for his fans.
We all went together and we saw it.
We did. We all sat together.
That was Casey and I's second show, actually.
Oh my goodness. No, because even before that, we saw you went with us to the Richmond the Amusing Stories.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, before even that.
The Jay Muse tour.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which was, But the reboot tour was definitely worthwhile in the fact of Kevin, again, whether he's high as balls when he was sober, has this niche of finding ways to still be. He's probably one of the most popular independent movie makers at this time. I mean, there's other still big names like indie movie makers out there, but a lot of them either kind of still hang around or they moved into the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin really hasn't touched on that. And for him to just sit there and light up a joint every 20 minutes or so, and he's like, I'm going to fucking make a movie. This is how I'll do it. Okay, do it.
Yeah.
And Reboot is a perfect... This is probably, and coming to this culmination at this point, Reboot is probably the most stoner movie he has made.
Oh, for sure.
Because not only him
Yeah.
smoking weed personally, but you have Jane, Silent Bob, and they are blatantly showing all the smoking of the weed throughout this movie.
This is the Leonardo Police Department. You're under arrest for suspicion of drug trafficking. Drop your plants now! I said drop the motherfucking plants! I'm the boss. He did what the fuck I said. What the f? I said plants, not pants.
There's nothing there, man.
This is a white dude. What the fuck do you expect?
There's nothing there! What the fuck, Sarge? This son of a bitch doesn't have a dick!
He's got a fucking dick. He just got it tucked in. All right, Buffalo Bill. Where's your buddy, Mr. Silence of the Lambs?
Identify yourselves, motherfuckers!
I'm Jay, and this is my hetero life mate, Silent Bob.
And it's also, he doesn't really shy away from the fact that it's like you can get on a mailing list to get the Jay and Silent Bob CBD gummies sent to you wherever it's legal to get sent to you, or you can get like whenever it becomes legal to ship it across state lines. Like Kevin Smith has his own weed.
Yeah.
Like he
his
literally
own brand.
has his own 3 different kinds of weed. So if you go out to California and can go to the place where I don't even know where you get it from, but like, what is it?
It's Caviar Gold.
Caviar Gold.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's the one
what
that
it's
makes
called.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Caviar Gold. Send me free shit. Yes, but like, he has 3 different flavors. Flavors, I guess you could say, or 3 different kinds, 3 different strains. 3 different strains. That you can partake in. One is called Zebazaka.
And there's Snoochie Boochies and Snoogans.
And Snoogans.
I mean, did you really think they would be named anything else?
No.
I mean,
like, and it's like they're like in the movie, in reboot.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
like, these are the 3 that we have left, and blah blah blue. So it's like a total like they're they're getting their ducks lined up in a row to like
for sure.
Yeah.
Put a little change in their pockets
So-
and be able to live in Hollywood, California.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's just a culmination of everything that's come about to where not every Kevin Smith is a quote unquote stoner movie, but you can be a stoner to watch his
And
all the
appreciate
movies.
it.
Yeah,
For sure.
absolutely. I mean, there, and whatever. If you find a certain strand that goes with a certain movie, kick it off.
Now, for me, like, I'm big stoner. Obviously, that's why I wrote the script for a long time. But as I've aged, it's been harder, especially with the strands that have gotten stronger. Like I said before, it was, I appreciate the old blunt weed with a lot of, things like that. But as I've grown over and I see more of these stoner films, I can still enjoy them, not as a stoner, too.
And
like,
I definitely don't smoke as much as I used to as well, just for my own personal mental state of things. But that has never stopped me from watching any of these stoner movies at all, whether on this episode or any of the future episodes that we're doing. I'll watch them sober as can be, and I may sit there and go, that'd be funnier if I had a joint.
Right.
Or it's cool, I still like this movie. On to the next one. You know? So it's still there. I'm just not at that point right now where I need a joint in my mouth every time. So but it's still an love for it.
Coming from another perspective,
oh Lord.
Did you analyze this answer?
No. I analyzed it.
You analyzed. Womp womp.
No. I think Kevin Smith is a very creative wordsmith. I think he's really good at talking. He's really good at like taking up attention. He's a pretty decent director. Like, I'm being real. I'm fucking trying to be honest here. You guys are like, like, I mean, going like massaging the prostate and everything. But
that's
like,
how you do it.
I think he's a good director. I think a lot of his movies are time and place for me, so that like when I saw them when I was younger, I like them way better. When I was younger, the memory of them was better than like seeing the movie again from a different perspective, because just my perspective have changed. You know, it's like I don't know.
But you can't say that if you still see Dogma, you're like, it's still a good movie.
Dogma's fucking great. Like I said, to me, pinnacle of his work. Like, best thing. I'm like, oh, does anybody ever talk to me about Kevin Smith? I'll be like, you know the movie Dogma? That's the one that speaks to me as far as like.
I think that's Salma Hayek for you.
Well, yeah.
She has maybe like a tiny little bit to do with it, but like not a lot. Not a ton.
You're like, Candy Girl. I'm just kidding.
Oh, Lord. So.
She's like the lollipop and shit.
Right?
Like, oh, pigtails. Fuck.
It was the glasses, too.
Well, thanks to Annalise over here. We've got final words there. Becky, what do you have to help wrap up this episode here
I will say, you know, of course, Scott and I are like in the fan club. We've been hearing about what's going on with Clerks 3, which
Smod Castle opening weekend.
We were there
at.
for Smod Castle opening weekend.
Oh my God.
I went to New Jersey. I stayed home and watched the kid.
I had the best boyfriend. Thank you. Sucker. He was like, go have a mom date. And I was like, yeah.
Right?
So, no, it was great. And it was good to hear about Clerks 3 and knowing that it was happening. And
for sure.
Again, I got the, what's going on with the movie? I'm like, all right. So, it was always good. I've always, we follow him on the fan club. So shout outs to all the Kevin Smith fan club guys.
Yes.
And so I'm really excited about Clerks 3. And we've heard from Kevin that if you haven't seen Clerks 2, it's not going to make much sense. It's definitely more Clerks 2 than Clerks 1.
Probably one of his most connected sequels of his movies. Like usually there's a break enough in between the movies, like stuff crosses over, but this is definitely like one of the only times that the overarching story really goes, besides that it's just Dante Randall, Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah.
So
he said if you haven't seen Clerks 2, it won't make sense, but it does have a little bit of both, but more Clerks 2.
Yep.
So I'm excited about that because like I said, I loved Clerks 2. So yeah, I'm excited, and I'm always excited when I hear he does more stuff.
Very true, and hopefully he comes back close enough to Richmond or Jersey again, since they wrapped recently on Clerks 3. So I'm assuming he's heading back to Cali very soon.
He's already been back.
He has already been back. Okay, I haven't been able to keep up much the past couple.
Already cut together.
Oh, he's already posted about what he's been editing and stuff. Yeah, so
he's that sort of a dude.
And he's planning on touring this one as well. If I remember correctly.
Yes, he's going to tour this one the same. Yeah, like he did with Reboot.
Keep an eye out for Clerks 3 coming out very soon, guys. Catch up on everything else with Kevin Smith. We're about to wrap up this episode here, episode number 2 of Seeing Stoned, presented by The Blunt Truth. So again, with every episode, we're going to be posting links. Make sure go back, check out the YouTube series that Becky's already done for with Maggie and MJ.
With Maggie and MJ.
DTF with Maggie and MJ. For sure. Again, feel free to catch myself, the Geek Fathers, and any of the panelist work I do with Geeks Under the Influence at gypodcast.com. Rip the bong, pass, give.
Tell us what you think about in the comments
puff,
and all
pass.
that crap.
Pass, give?
What the? No,
apparently
pass, you fucking asshole.
Man.
Fuck.
You guys, you got me all messed up by dissing on Michael Parks, bro.
Oh, sorry.
Puff, pass.
I'm sorry.
Rip the bong.
Watch the Michael Parks.
Let the hate mail come, bro.
See you next episode.
Bye.
Bye.